You could feel the electricity before the first snap. Not just the holiday buzz, but that thin, brittle kind of tension that says someone's season might tilt tonight. Thanksgiving at AT&T Stadium felt less like a family meal and more like a courtroom. Bright lights, hungry eyes, and two teams with everything to prove. By the fourth quarter, it had the texture of a playoff game. Close, ugly at times, and decided by the kind of plays that look simple on paper and impossible under pressure. Dak Prescott didn't arrive to be a background actor. He showed up to direct. Tonight he played like a quarterback who'd read every script and then improvised the missing lines. Efficient when it mattered, explosive when he needed to be, he threw for 329 yards and walked away with a stat line that read like ownership of the moment. 2 touchdowns, 1 interception, and a steady hand when the scoreboard stopped being polite. When your offense is asked to carry the weight of a win, you want a leader who makes risk feel like calculation, and Prescott did that. The Cowboys' offense moved with an almost old-fashioned rhythm, establish the run, test the short throws, then tilt the field with a big strike. CeeDee Lamb and George Pickens were not content to be supporting cast. Lamb ripped off 112 yards and a touchdown. Pickens, in only his latest chapter with Dallas, finished with 88 yards and a game-defining play that had everything you want in a highlight. A long catch, yards after contact, and a hurdle over Trent McDuffie that looked like a moment torn from a highlight reel. That hurdle wasn't just athleticism. It was a statement. Dallas wasn't just going to outscore Kansas City, they were going to out-announce them. Kansas City's start was textbook, methodical, confident, and carrying last week's momentum. The Chiefs punched first with 14 quick points that felt like an assertion. We're still here. We still bite. Patrick Mahomes looked like the man who'd won titles and handled comebacks with an artful grin. Then, something happened that happens in games with too many storylines. The plot bent. The Chiefs' offense became strangely quiet for nearly 2 quarters, and against an inverted, hungry Dallas defense, a quiet offense looks more fragile than it really is. That silence didn't stop Kansas City from waking up in the fourth. Mahomes found his rhythm again. He tossed 4 touchdowns on the night, raspy with effort but clinical when called upon, and Rashee Rice turned in a pair of scores with 92 receiving yards. But even a magician needs time and space. The Cowboys, when they needed a push, answered with plays that felt vintage Dak. Keep the chains moving, find the matchup, and when a window opened, explode through it. The defining sequence of the second half was a study in escalation. Down 21-20 as the fourth quarter began, Prescott engineered an 11-play, 68-yard march that ended with a 3-yard touchdown to Javonte Williams. The play was a reminder that Prescott is more than a passer. He's an engine, extending plays with his legs and his eyes late, keeping defenders honest long enough for receivers to carve out something real. Pickens' 39-yard catch and run in that drive, the hurdle and the surge, flipped momentum into Dallas's pocket like a coin. After that, the Cowboys did something even smarter than score. They made Kansas City feel the clock. A 51-yard Prescott strike to Lamb set up a field goal that pushed the lead to 2 scores and forced Mahomes into a different frame. Pressure returned, not just physical, with rushers in the face, but situational, with time and options shrinking. And yet, credit to the Chiefs, they didn't collapse. They pushed back in that final stretch, the kind of gritty, furious drive we've come to expect from Mahomes when the playoffs whisper. But football is a game of inches and decisions. A special, desperate 4th and 27 moment gave Kansas City, a life in different games. But here the Cowboys' defense and clock management took the sting out of Mahomes' late magic. The Chiefs carved through the field, but never quite had the final punctuation they wanted. This game leaves a few clear fingerprints. For Dallas, it's validation. They didn't sneak to this win. They earned it with a balanced offense, 2 receivers who can flip any plan with 1 explosive play, and a quarterback who can deliver in the messy parts. For Dak, nights like this are the currency of leadership. Show up, make the throws that don't look pretty on paper, and when an opening appears, hit it with conviction. For Kansas City, the takeaway is sharper and colder. A 500 record doesn't lie about consistency. This team has springy moments and elastic heartbreaks. To steady their season, they'll need fewer stretches of silence and more sustained offense. You can't rely on yanking comebacks out of hats when the regular season becomes a ledger of mistakes. The Chiefs' defense and offense both showed flashes. Mahomes' 4 touchdowns are a reminder they can still punch, but in the tight calculus of playoff math, flashes need to be repeatable. On the human side, there's a little poetry to Thanksgiving football. It's a sport that asks grown men to be both machine and family. Tonight felt like a family proving its worth to itself. The Cowboys left the stadium with relief and momentum. The Chiefs walked out with questions that will hum in their locker room. Both teams have the talent to answer those questions, but the season is no longer generous with time. If you walk away with one image from the night, let it be this: Dak Prescott, mid-drive, finding an alley and throwing a rope downfield that CeeDee Lamb turned into thunder. The stadium seemed to hold its breath and then exhale in wide, satisfied relief. That's the kind of moment that in a month's time, we'll either remember as the turning point for Dallas, the night they decided they were coming, or as a singular victory in a season that keeps asking fans to trust tomorrow over what's already happened. Either way, on this Thanksgiving, Prescott made sure his team had more to be thankful for than turkey. They had a win, a plan, and the kind of performance that keeps belief alive. You ever watch a marquee matchup and leave feeling like you were sold the trailer twice and the movie once? Thanksgiving at AT&T Stadium delivered exactly that. Fireworks, a late sting, and a headline that reads like a crossroads. Dak Prescott and the Cowboys stole a 31-28 thriller from the Chiefs, and Kansas City's midseason wobble is back in the headlines. Reuters' Dak didn't just show up, he owned moments. He carved up a Chiefs defense that looked vulnerable to chunk plays, finishing the day with a big, steady performance that kept Dallas alive in every crunch time drive. That clip of Prescott marching his team down late, the 11-play, 68-yard touchdown drive capped by a short TD and a gutsy 2-point conversion, was the kind of veteran orchestration that wins tight games. The Cowboys walked out with a 3rd straight win and a healthy dose of momentum. Reuters: still, this wasn't a quiet game by any measure. Patrick Mahomes was slinging the ball like it was 2022 halftime. He finished with multiple touchdown strikes and kept Kansas City within a whisker until the final minute. Rashee Rice, the rookie who's become the Chiefs' X factor, carved out big chunks of yardage and hauled in a pair of scores, finishing the afternoon among the top producers. You could feel the tilt of the chess match. Explosive plays on both sides, then clutch strategy deciding the ledger. ESPN.com. Here's the pulse check on how the game swung. Dallas opened the scoring, the Chiefs responded with explosive answers, and the scoreboard looked like 2 offenses trading postcards. But the middle quarters favored the Cowboys' ability to sustain drives and win the time of possession battles that matter late. When it came time to close, Prescott and the Dallas offensive line put together the plays that turned pressure into points, the mark of a team that's learned how to finish close games when the margin is razor thin. Ducker, DallasCowboys.com. If you want the 5-second rewind early takeaway by the Chiefs, big plays from both offenses throughout the game, Dak orchestrates the late touchdown drive and the 2-point conversion to swing the lead back. Then Dallas kneels out the clock after a late Mahomes touchdown cut it to 3. A field goal earlier in the 4th provided the cushion that allowed the Cowboys to survive Kansas City's furious push. That sequence, sustain, strike, protect the ball, and run the clock, is why the Cowboys left Arlington with a win. ESPN.com, now the sharper analysis, what this says about each team going forward. For Dallas, this is the kind of win that creates belief. You don't always get decisions right in November, but putting together 3 straight wins with a veteran QB who still knows how to close gives coaches cover to keep riding current form. CeeDee Lamb and George Pickens showed they can be the kind of dynamic receiving duo that forces coverages and opens the run game. When those two are in rhythm, the Cowboys are ugly to defend. Reuters. For Kansas City, the alarms aren't theoretical. The Chiefs now sit at .500 and can't afford long stretches of inconsistency. They've been here before. Mahomes will bail teams out, and he often does, but this season has already had enough self-inflicted noise. Penalties, shaky protection at times, and a defense that can't always close the door. Winning a big Thursday game matters. Doing it without leaving a lot to chance matters more. Kansas City still has elite talent, but the margin for error is shrinking. Reuters, let's talk micro edges. The Cowboys won the third down grind and the explosive play battle at critical junctures. That 51-yard bomb to Lamb late in the fourth that set up a field goal, that was damage control turned into scoreboard leverage. On the flip side, the Chiefs manufactured big plays from Mahomes to Rice, but a couple of missed coverages and timing issues kept them from turning that into a full comeback. In tight games, those little mismatches are the difference between a comeback and a last-minute highlight. DallasCowboys.com. Coaching decisions mattered too. You saw a staff on one sideline willing to ride its veteran through messy patches, and a staff on the other trying to keep an aggressive identity while cleaning up mistakes. Andy Reid's offense will never be conservative by default, but you can see